Hey everybody, it's Deanna and it's Fearless Entrepreneurship Live. I have two of my friends with me today. I've got Elizabeth and Lori joining me. How are you girls?
Hi, Deanna. We're good. Good to see
Good.
you.
We are changing things up a little. Normally it's me and just one other person talking, but these ladies have been on before, and if you didn't catch them, I highly recommend you go back and rewatch both of them because they're both amazing. And I thought it'd be really cool to come on and just have just a super casual girl chat, coffee chat, and talk about just personal growth, our own personal growth as entrepreneurs. And if anybody's listening and wants to hop in and comment or ask questions or whatever, by all means, let's do it. Let's just make it like roundtable, like instead of virtual, we're all sitting around the coffee table right now, chit chatting and having
Where's your
fun.
coffee? Everyone show their coffee.
I've got my coffee.
Yeah. I have water. Sorry.
Well, I saw Lori was brewing hers right before. I'm like, oh, yeah. I better go refill my cup.
Yeah, I have to do my lemon water. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. That's all right. So I want to talk about personal growth because, boy, I think that's just something that happens. I don't think it's something that you think about when you become an entrepreneur, but it's something that's critical. So Elizabeth, I'm going to start with you since you're in the middle and closest, the blonde between two brunettes.
I know. I love that. I'm balancing out you guys. That's good.
That worked out good, didn't it?
Yeah.
So have you seen a personal growth since you first started as an entrepreneur?
Not at all. I'm exactly the same person that I was before. Oh my gosh. I think the word entrepreneur, if you look it up, I think the first definition says personal growth. And then it has a picture of someone screaming and kicking their heels and being pulled into personal growth. Yeah, I mean, the two are ubiquitous. I mean, I don't think you can have one without the other. So I have seen a ton of personal growth. And I can tell you, having had a corporate career for, I don't know what I had it for 12, 15 years, and then, equal amount of time or more or whatever, I'm losing track of an entrepreneurial experience. I grew leaps and bounds as an entrepreneur personally in the personal growth area compared to what happened to me in the corporate world. So absolutely, I've seen so many changes.
Why do you think that is?
Because I don't think you can avoid, look, it's up to you, right? I mean, There is no paycheck unless you do whatever you have to do. And I talk about this before, you have to do a little bit of everything. You got to push yourself to learn things that maybe you wouldn't have had to learn, areas that you have to become sort of a lightweight expert in, and then you have your core competency. But it really, at the end of the day, if you don't do the work, it doesn't happen. And so you almost have no choice but to look at yourself, as painful as that can be, under a microscope and be willing to step up in order to see the results, which ultimately end up in your business succeeding or failing.
Yeah, very true. I can so relate to that. How about you, Lori? What's your personal growth journey been like?
So this exact moment, I was just speaking to Elizabeth earlier, and throughout this quarantine, that being in front of the camera is not my strong suit. So to do this now for the fifth time, I think, which I'm completely honored and blessed to do, I've had to do things like learn how to fix those curls that are like out here, or out here, and be able to think about what I'm doing this way instead of this way, which is what I'm more used to. I'm the writer, I'm the listener, I'm the observer. So this is all very new for me. I have a tremendous mindset coach who I'd like to introduce you to one day, who has helped me grow in this area and pushed me in the exact perfect way that I need to be pushed. I also realize about myself, and we've discussed this. So as a writer, some writers tend to hole up and hide and write. And I realize that this doesn't work for me. I need a little bit more connection. I need a lot of interaction. When I need to write something quick, journalistic, get it out there, I can do it. But working on a long-term project, I find myself looking for additional noise, additional distractions, additional communication, because I'm having a hard time. And I've explained this, I think, to both of you on different levels. Yeah. I don't like this feeling of, okay, here we are and we're not moving and now go. I don't work this way. So I've had to learn to adjust in several different areas, including this way.
Well, you look great, Laura. I'm a fan of yours. But you know what's interesting about that is that I think the assumption is an entrepreneur means you're an extrovert. And, and therefore, you need to do things a certain way and all of us are alike. And it's not true. There are very successful introverts as entrepreneurs. And so we're all different. And so this shutdown, though, is like one flavor, unfortunately, right? Yeah. Stay away from everybody. Your only way to interact is virtually. And so it's forced everybody to fine-tune skills that maybe don't suit them. And so it isn't the best. I look at my kids and they've all reacted differently. And of the four, one of them is like, I can't do this anymore. I'm a social being. And that's what fuels him. Another one of them is like, I got it going on. I love my little world. So as entrepreneurs, I think it's okay for us to understand that there is not one formula. Right. Maybe except work hard, right? But other than that, all the different personalities, if you look at all the entrepreneurs, they're very, very different from each other.
It's true.
It is true. And, it's kind of funny because I've always been known to be an extrovert, but I think I've got some introvert in me because I'm kind of okay with all the
But why? Is it because you get more done? Maybe it's because you get more done.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I feel more focused. I feel more, and it's funny because Lori, you don't. You feel like you're losing your creativity
a little bit.
And I feel like I've got more of a roadmap. I've got the clutter and the distractions in my head have quieted down. And it's interesting because it is so very different.
Right. It is. Everybody's reacting to it differently. Now that it's ending for some people, though, what does that look like? I mean, sometimes I feel this anxiety, like I have to get so much more done before we formally open.
Right. I agree.
I don't want to feel, I've never felt that way before. I put myself, but I've never felt that. So there's a strange adjustment to this reopen too, that and I'm sure it's the same for people in corporate. It's just that their job kind of is the same, right? It's just a different venue. But I think when you're constantly thinking of new ideas and how to grow your business, and you're constantly taking on more than you can chew, because that's what we do as entrepreneurs, this feels like a little bit like the opportunity can almost equal anxiety. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want to go there. That's where it turns negative.
Right. No, Lori, I want to touch a little bit on what you said earlier about going live and being in front of the camera, how this is not what you typically do, but you're learning to adapt and you're stepping outside of those boundaries and you're doing it. So what is it what has that been like for you? Is it getting easier on number 5?
Well, if I could put it this way, where Elizabeth is sitting right now is a wonderful place. It's been named the Mindset Factory. And in there we've created, she's done it, but she's allowed me in there to help create. And there's been times when Elizabeth was either taping or doing a live and I was sitting, in the room with her, and so much floods me. I almost need like another brain outside of my body because I think of things, or I hear the way she says something, or I hear the way someone responds to her, and that becomes a post or a tweet or a podcast, and I'm invigorated. It's the same way that, caffeine, when it hits my body, I suddenly become a better person. So I miss that. Elizabeth, if you don't mind, I want to share the Paris story because I think it illustrates it so much better. So for starters, I love the place where I'm sitting in my house right now. It's my son's place. The guitar's back there somewhere, but it's very peaceful down here, and I can work, and there's a beautiful view. But when I started working with Elizabeth a little over a year ago, right after we launched her book, she left for a trip for Paris, which was planned, but I think it was within 48 hours of the event. So that whole time to debrief and talk about, and what was the wins and what would we do different next time, and how can we maintain this list of connections? There was so much energy that night. We had put so much into it of ourselves, not in a draining way, but in an amazing way. All the bases were covered. All the details were covered. The people were the right people that needed to be there. And Elizabeth did 2 unbelievable interviews that night that really drove home the point of her book. So off she goes to Paris. I didn't give it any thought. While she was gone, there was a little bit of connection. She sent some photos and everything. But by the time she came back, I felt like I lost a part of myself. And I didn't want to tell her that because I I am who I am. I'm not dependent upon her, but we have synergy.
Right.
And when I got to her house for our first business meeting, I could see she was different. She looked different. She even spoke different, as did I. And we didn't address it. We jumped right into work. And the next thing you know, we're pinging, we're moving. We had our whole next period of time planned out, whiteboard full, coffee cups.
I love those moments.
And we went, oh my God, this is what we missed for the last 10 days. Yeah. And again, it's not this unhealthy codependency. It's that our creativity is so tied into our synergy. And I will never forget that night. I mean, I think I was doing burpees on your...
Yeah, you were actually. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know, like things got crazy. But the point is that that kind of synergy, I probably could do alive really well, but without it, I struggle. And I've often said to Elizabeth, and we both have this vision of when she's speaking, I'm the man behind the curtain. I'm the woman in the headset. I'm the one I'm thinking as Elizabeth's talking, I'm visualizing. We work. I mean, I'm so blessed to say that about you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, well, I feel the same way. And I think what the message to everyone is, you have to find that group or that individual or those people that you work with, because we are not islands. And I know, Deanna, you there's no way you work by yourself all the time, and you can elaborate, but we are just not islands. And there are times we're all hunkered down, I'm going to work hard, whatever. And then I'll suddenly feel this loss of energy and this loss of spark. And I have to call Lori. I'm still trying to convince her to get in her car and come over here, but we're not quite at that stage yet with this state. But maybe she can sit across the lawn. You can sit across the lawn from me, just to feel the presence. But honestly, you have to know that makes you bigger. And I think as entrepreneurs, we can get very sort of narrowly focused and think that it's only about us. And some people who start businesses say, well, I can't afford to hire somebody, or I can't afford. There are always ways to create that synergy. And I can tell you, as hard-hitting as I am and as tough and as focused, I have told Lori this, I cannot do what I'm doing without her. And that realization is not just to make her feel good. And it's not just because I want her hair, because,
right?
Oh, God.
But I mean, really, I'll never have that. It's all right. I'm owning it. But honestly, I realize that about myself. And I think that that's okay. That doesn't mean I'm missing something. We are not all things. So as entrepreneurs, we try to be so many things, but I need that balance, and I need that makes me better, and it forces me to look at myself. So we all need. So Deanna, don't you have people that do that for you?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yes. And you know what? I didn't realize it until I made the move. When I was in Ohio, I mean, this is the town that I grew up in. I went from kindergarten to graduation to the same school. My kids went to that same school.
Wow.
My family, I've got a big family. My dad's one of 14 kids. So it felt like you knew everybody, and you kind of do. Everybody knows everybody in this town. And I took that for granted. And then you drop me in Montana where I don't know anybody, and I'm still doing business as usual, right? I'm going through the processes and all that. And, you feel like something's missing, but you can't, like Lori said, I didn't really know what was missing until I went back to Ohio. And then I got back into all the people that I would talk to and collaborate with. And it was like this ball of energy. Like I came back so ready to go, like so inspired. I'm like, oh my God, like I needed that. I needed to be plugged in to that again. And when I recognized it, now I realize that, I need to create that here, whether it's with people physically here or if it's this virtual world of plugging in. I started setting up little mini masterminds with people that really I have that synergy with, just to plug in, because it's so important. It's so important.
A mastermind is a real thing, by the way. I don't know if people really understand that word. I've experienced it. I know Lori has been with me when we've experienced it together, and we've had them together, a third person. It's this actual energy that happens, and it's almost strange, but it does happen, right? But I would counsel like a young entrepreneur, young in terms of beginning the business, to be careful who you share that energy with. Because on the one hand, while you can experience that plugging in and that mastermind moment, you can be just as easily drained of your energy and drained of your drive by sharing too much with the wrong not that people are wrong, but the people that aren't your people, right? You got to find your people. And I've experienced that as well. And I've shared those times with Lori where I said, like, I just, I hit a wall because I'm around people right now that aren't getting it. And so you have to know what that means. So I think, because I'm a coach, I'm big into coaches. You're a coach, listen, I think we understand that you need to mastermind with the right people. And that's what literally gives you like a leap. It gives you a leap in every way, but it's an energy exchange. It's a real thing. It's a phenomena that happens. It's amazing.
It's true.
Yeah.
I want to add to that, so Deanna, a lot of your lives I've had the opportunity to tune into, and I see by the time from where you start to where you end, there's a whole energy exchange. And the information that's shared is so powerful. So I definitely see that you connecting with us virtually and some of your other guests throughout all of this has done wonders. And I think that, whether we're doing here on Twitter, on Instagram, I think there's something there too, because we can't be in person. But like you said, setting up the masterminds or just being a third party, observing, wonderful things are happening.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
I read that the way that we change as people, right, is either from inspiration or desperation. And right, I mean, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. Like that's really what pushes us. We're either in that oh shit moment, right, where it's like I better step up and do something, or this isn't going to work out, or we have that synergy, and you are just filled with all this inspiration, and the ideas just flood through, like the floodgates just opened, and there's all these really cool ideas coming through.
Yeah, it's true. And I think when people understand the spirit behind what you're trying to do, that's another thing. This is a little bit of a mutual love fest here, but that's okay. Because the other thing that Lori's really good at, and I think that, I'm sure, Deanna, when you work with your clients, you want to find that vein with them, is sort of understanding what they're trying to do on a heart level and getting it and buying into it. Because when someone who works with you buys into what you're doing and understands it on that level, there's, first of all, less words are needed, which is always good to explain what you want to do. But especially if it's in marketing or any kind of forum where you have to present someone's point of view, they understand you. And it's almost like their voice continues through them. Like I feel like my voice continues, through Lori. And I think that the people that can do that in your world, that's how you exponentially grow, but not just be that island again. So find those people who understand your voice and understand your heart.
Yeah, definitely. So, and either one of you guys can answer this. From the time you first started, what is one of the biggest personal growth lessons you learned?
Wow.
Or one time where you felt like, I'm not doing this, and then you realized that it was really worth it. Just something that you resisted, but you're like, all right.
Let's see, Laura, does anything come to mind? There's so many areas that I've stretched myself.
So something that we did, that we resisted, but realized we needed to continue to do.
Right. Is that what you're saying? You know what, Lori, while you're thinking, I'm going to say
my dog. It's over. He's scratching my leg.
Where is he? I can't see him.
Here.
Oh my gosh. That's so
every time I go live, he has to be on my lap.
They do.
I don't sleep all day unless I'm talking.
Yeah. Mine are part. Yeah. They know when you're going live. Well, actually, let me use going live as an example. Okay. So I think that a lot of entrepreneurs tend to be self-critical. I think there are some common traits between entrepreneurs. And I think that a lot of us tend to be self-critical because we step outside of ourselves, we look at ourselves and we're like, all right, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? If we weren't that way, we wouldn't grow. So there is something about that that's good. The downfall in all of that is that then you will hold back in some areas. So I would say to anybody who's starting a business is the whole Facebook Live thing or Instagram Live or Twitter Live. I don't care which one it is. It's not the platform. The idea that you put yourself out there is so important that you force it. It's so important that you rip off that Band-Aid, and that you don't keep making excuses not to do it. Because it's not about perfection. It's about getting your voice heard. And once you do it, now Lori may not love it and she's saying that and I get it. So maybe I'm, and it's okay. But so maybe this is more me and Deanna, but once you do it and you realize like, that's not so scary. And isn't that true in life in general? Like,
Yeah.
why am I concerned about this? And then you step into it and you realize it's not, it's get your head out of your own head. Like, it's not about you.
Right.
It's about what you're trying to help somebody with. And so for me, I think I really encourage people, just do it. Just do it. Make the mistake, be willing to make the mistake, whatever that looks like, I remember one of the first times that I went live, I was testing something out and I thought I was in my test private group. And listen, I'm a technologist. Like, I was a computer programmer, back in the day.
Oh gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, when you work for the big Anderson Consulting, which is long gone, I see I'm old, but you have to do that stuff. So I was a technologist and I'm still, right, Laura? Like, I'm pretty technical.
Very.
So for me to screw something up technically, I don't do it that easily. But here I sat, like right here, just messing around with my computer, doing a test live, and I was on my page live. And there was no, like, I was not presenting anything. I was just there. So that was really embarrassing. And whatever. But I'll never do that again. Yeah, I'll never do that again. So I think then maybe I'm just shifting into allowing yourself to make mistakes. Like, when I announced my business for the first time, I made up a list of 1,000 emails to send it to. And I made sure it was in the CC. But I thought I put it in the BCC and I didn't. So I spammed 1,000 people with all the email addresses.
That drives me crazy. Just side note. I'm like, and I can't believe people still do that. That they see everybody.
And I did it. That was my big announcement. My big, like, hit send. And the second I sent it, and then I made it worse. I tried to recall them. Don't even. So you can do that in Microsoft, and it doesn't work, by the way. And then you just send them another email. So listen, be willing to make the mistakes, because that's better than not doing anything at all. So there you go.
I love
that. Definitely. I love if in a physical space, like, I can work a room and I can talk to people I don't know and I'm cool. But I was intimidated going live in the beginning. I'm like, oh gosh, and it's all that negative self-talk, right? Who's going to judge me? What are they going to think? What if I don't say the right things? What if I stumble? What if I freeze? What if I just don't even know what to say and I have nothing to say? Like, like, I'm going to be humiliated. And that's not the case. It really isn't. And nobody even notices or cares. I mean, you really don't.
And in the beginning, no one's listening anyway. Let's be honest. When you first start, so I stopped caring what the numbers were or who's listening, because most people see it on replay. But the point is, no one's even listening in the beginning. You don't do that. You set yourself up as though you have 1,000 people listening, not in a nervous way, but you're valuable and you have something to say, and everybody is. So you just have to step into it. Yeah.
No, I definitely, I agree with that. And doing something for the first time is hard.
Yeah.
And as entrepreneurs, we are always doing something, whether we are launching a new service or launching a new product or shifting our business or going through a rebrand, whatever it is, right? And it does get uncomfortable, and it's inevitable though. Change is going to happen. We don't know. All three of us are going to have to deal with some sort of change in the near future. We just don't even know what it is. So you just kind of you have to get used to it.
You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because if you're not uncomfortable, then you're not growing. So, I really like to look at my week and I say, what did I learn this week? Did I push myself somewhere, or did I stay in my comfort zone? Because once I figure something out and now I know how to do it, I could just stay there, but then I'm not learning. And so again, another definition of being an entrepreneur is constantly growing and pushing yourself, and constantly being in that zone of, I'm not really sure, but I know I have to do it. So I think if you go too long without that, you go stale.
Yeah. So this is probably going to be an ironic question for both of you. You're probably going to laugh at it. But in my opinion, personal growth, a big part of it is reading. Are you guys avid readers?
I'm not. Go, Laura. You talk now. Go.
I just devoured a book in 24 hours. 24 hours. And depending upon the book and the message behind it and where I am, I've done that before many times. You just, I can read with everybody in the room. I don't need to be shut out, and things will jump out at me and they will stay with me. As a writer, I have to read, and I love to read. I always read. I've shared on several lives. I was raised by storytellers. So when people are telling stories, I want to be in there. I know that there's something I'm going to get out of it. So I do read a lot. There are certain books some who might even be pictured in this film right now, that will stay
wrong way this way.
that will stay right on my desk. And it's dog-eared and highlighted, and something I'll read will remind me of that, or something in there will be applicable to what I'm doing or what one of my kids are doing right here, right now. So, and I have my own I just made this little bookshelf. It's in the kitchen, which is real weird because it's like, it looks like it should be a cabinet, but I put all books there, and they're there because I can grab it right here, right now, and relate back to it. So yes, I think I've taken in a lot more visually than I have in the past, but I always read, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. Elizabeth just had an amazing interview with a sports psychologist who's I've known for years, and listening to him drove me to buy his book immediately, because what he was saying was speaking to me this time of my life much more than it did years ago when I actually collaborated with him. So I grabbed the book because I know there's always going to be a space in my life to read. So it's important to read. So yes, the reading, I admit, more visual than normal, but reading just is a constant.
So when I was writing my book and I hit a writer's block, I would read. Now I was careful not to read in my subject area. That was one thing I wouldn't do because I was concerned about replicating someone else. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I would read something else. But one thing so I love books, to answer your question, just like Lori. In fact, my husband built me a library, which, I filled up instantly. I couldn't wait till the last nail was in. And I was brought up on books. My dad was a big into self-improvement. And so he taught me to speed read, which sounds like it's not. Like, he literally put me through speed reading courses. Like, he took them. And it sounds like, well, then that's not really getting but the whole point of speed reading is doing it in a way that you get the best value out of what you're reading. Because right now, if you see my desk, I have like 5 different books that I'm reading, but I don't really have time to read a full book, right? So I have developed this way of finding the information that I need. And so I would say to anybody who loves the idea of reading all these books, but doesn't feel like they have the time or doesn't know how to just buy 20 of them and never open them, learn some speed reading skills, or at least comprehension skills that allow you to pull out the big points that are life-changing. And then you can walk away from that book and it can make a difference in your life. You haven't read every single word. Now, I know not everyone's made that way, but you can teach yourself that, and it's a really valuable skill.
Yes.
Yeah, I wish I knew I had that skill. I'm going to have to learn how to do it. I do read fast typically, but I have to go back and reread. Like, I'll hit those things that I'm like, wait a minute, what did I just read? And there are books that I've read more than once. And every time I read it, I find something and I'm like, I don't remember reading that before.
Right.
So I'm a highlighter. I have to read actual books. I've tried the online thing, and I do have audiobooks, and I do have like the Kindles and stuff like that. But I like to actually read and highlight and tag and do all those crazy things. What do you got? What's your preference?
Well, I was going to just make a comment there because as you're talking, I was thinking about the other side of this. I too like to interact physically with the book, by the way. Sometimes certain books I'll get on audio just so I can do laundry and listen to it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But here's the other side of it, just to jump in with this, because as entrepreneurs, we can get information overload. And I see people that sign up for every single newsletter, and they sign up for this, and they download this, and they just get to the point where their email box is stuffed full of emails, right? From people, and there are books everywhere, and they can't, and they just shut down. So you have to know your tolerance for information. And just because you should get this book, right? You shouldn't get that book if you're not ready for it to change your life. And so be very careful that you aren't just grabbing, solutions to everything. Decide, what am I focusing on right now? It can be a real trap, information overload, and then you freeze, and then nothing has the ability to really sink in and change your life. So that's a trap I can fall into, because I'm like, I need that book, I need this, I need that, right? And then all of a sudden I'm buried in stuff that I can't possibly get through. So, and I do like to interact with the books. So that's just a cautionary thing. And some people need to go through their emails and unsubscribe to everything and just turn off the noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Susan, she had to take speed reading.
And
oh my gosh.
Read. What a great time to take it.
Wow. That's awesome. See, I'm not the only person. I'm telling you, like, I don't know if that's an old fashioned thing, because we're talking a long time ago for me, but I wonder if those courses are still out there. I mean, it really been one of the top 10 things for me that I benefited from in terms of instruction when I was young was speed reading.
Oh, wow. I may have to look into those courses because I love to read and I never get to everything I want to read.
Yeah.
And but I don't know. I love reading, but everything else gets ahead. Anyhow, Lori, how about you? Do you like reading the physical book, the audio book? Do you do a combination of everything?
So I like to hold the book. I like to open it. I want to have it. I want to hold it. I still am sad that newspapers no longer exist because I love that whole Saturday morning on the kitchen table, coffee and the news. But I've said it publicly, I'm behind the times. Audiobooks are probably better for me to get the information, get it in quicker. Time in the car, which has been erased basically from our lives.
Right.
But I will, when I can hold that book, that's what I really prefer to do. Now, I also read blogs and articles every day, sometimes anywhere from 10 to 50. And that I like to do on the screen because I can get through it, find something, tag it, tweet it, post it, and move on. So, but yeah, I can't read for more than a screen or two's worth. I want to hold it. I want to be able to interact with it.
Can I jump in with a little PR announcement?
Yeah, absolutely.
I really think everyone needs to write their book, right? And we're not going to announce it now, but Lori and I are writing a book together. That's enough said about that. However, I helped somebody else publish their book, which I now am holding in my hands. Remember the proof. This is the proof copy. See, that's a proof copy from Amazon when they put that on there. Remember that, Lori?
Yeah, remember it.
By Sano, The Mickey Mouse Trap, Searching for Applause. This is his memoir. I'm doing it wrong. Like, you see how big it's his memoir of being one of the top guys on Madison Avenue in the 60s. He was a top agency guy. So I finally got him to publish his book. So listen, it's a memoir, and it's back when, the whole Mad Men thing, he was one of them. And he has an amazing story, but we need to tell our stories. So I was happy to help push him to get that done. And I drove the book over to him on Saturday, and he's in his 80s. So I put it down. I called him. He came out of his condo, and I filmed him from a distance and opened up the envelope and pulled this thing out. And I know what that feels like to hold your book for the first time, and the tears and the gratitude. And he was overwhelmed. So if you want to write, just write, please.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I feel like you're speaking to me right now.
I know. I am.
I do, and I'm going to get to it. I am. I'm slowly starting because of you ladies.
Great.
You have motivated me, so I'm slowly starting. But yes, I love it. I love it. So anyhow, I want to thank both of you for coming on. I know we went a little bit over, so thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I love both of you guys. I'm so happy and I'm so grateful that you joined me on these lives.
You're sweet to ask us. We love it. I love making Lori do this stuff. So let's keep doing that. Right?
Just to torture her, right?
Just to torture her. And we're going to be going to Texas at some point for one of the books she's writing. So maybe we'll find our way up to Montana. Because from Jersey, it's all out there, right? It's all the same to us. So
right, I know, right? Or maybe I can fly down somewhere like Dallas or wherever in Texas. We can meet in a different place in Texas.
Yeah,
exactly. And all go get together.
We'll figure it out. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Deanna.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody who's watching. We'll catch you later.
Bye.
All right, bye, guys.